Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 513 Sports Attack.
I'm Nick, and with always my partner in crime, Cory. How you doing?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
Well, today is actually a special day here for us at the 513 Sports Attack. We have officially been sponsored by Old Carolina BBQ out of Mansfield, Ohio. If you're in the area of Mansfield or even in the surrounding area, stop by. They have some of the best barbecue in town. So, Cory, without the world of sports here, not a lot going on, right? So let's just go ahead, give a little draft recap. We'll cover our tri-state area here, the Colts, Browns, and then the Bengals. Let's just lead it off here with the Colts, man. Looks like they had a pretty solid draft for them, for where they had picks at. They didn't have a first-round pick, but they did pick up Michael Pittman, a wide receiver out of USC. They picked up Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin in the second round as well. With their third-round pick, they got Julian Blackmon, the safety out of Utah. Fourth round, they picked up one of the most underrated quarterbacks, in my opinion, in this draft, Jacob Eason out of Washington. Fifth round, they got Danny Pittner, an offensive guard from Ball State. And in the sixth round, Robert Windsor, defensive tackle from Penn State, Isaiah Rodgers, cornerback from Massachusetts, Desmond Patman, wide receiver from Washington State, and Jordan Glasgow, the linebacker from your Wolverines, man. So what are your overall thoughts here of the Colts? NFL.com gives them a grade B for this draft. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts here?
So I think it was really important for the Colts to address they needed offensive weapons. They really never had a breakaway running back. They didn't have a lot of up-tier talent receivers outside of T.Y. Hilton. You need to get him a compliment. So obviously to take Michael Pittman Jr., who was probably, could have been a first-round pick, obviously not as good as some of the other receivers, but obviously he definitely could have been a first-round pick. I think he's a great player out of USC in a pro-style offense. I think he'll fit right in, no problems asked. I think it was kind of almost a steal to see Jonathan Taylor still there in the second round. Obviously, us Big Ten guys, we've seen Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, we've both Michigan and Ohio State have kind of shut him down a couple times, but obviously he has great speed. And he's got, he's just very balanced as a runner, and I think he could end up becoming the starting running back there shortly. And then I think, like you said, Jacob Eason, I really do like Jacob Eason, and I think he will be the future. Obviously, maybe his college career didn't end up how he wanted it to be, but Jacob Eason is a very talented young fella, and I think that he's really solid. I think B is the perfect grade. I think they maybe missed out on a couple of guys maybe later on, and that they could have taken. But I think overall they had a really good draft that's going to help them in the next couple of years.
Definitely. I definitely agree there with the B grade as well. I think, without having a first-round pick, you miss out on some key talent there. But to get a running back like Jonathan Taylor, in the second round is an absolute steal, like you said. Michael Pittman, another great wide receiver out of USC, the many that they've produced. I do like Julian Blackmon, though, the safety out of Utah. He plays with very good vision. I think he's going to add to their defense as well and play a key role this upcoming year. The kid, the pursuit and the natural ability that he plays at the safety position is just phenomenal to watch. I've already said Jacob Eason, to me, like I said, was one of the best quarterbacks in this draft. I agree all around. I just never saw Jacob Eason even slipping to the fourth round, man. I had him in the second round at one point,
Yeah. He was one of those kids that you thought, all right, he could be a first round guy if sophomore year of college, but things kind of took a little bit of a turn. But I think you're right. I think he really could have been a second round talent. So, to get him that late could work out for the best for them. But, obviously they do still have Phillip Rivers, as their free agent signing quarterback. So I think that, maybe something to look forward to for Colts fans.
Oh, definitely. And you know what I do like about drafting this kid? He's going to be a gunslinger. Phillip Rivers is a gunslinger. That's what he does. He throws the pigskin. And I think he's going to be, I think getting Jacob Eason, a kid who has, unlimited potential at the quarterback position, to pair him with a guy like Phillip Rivers, who at this point in his career has seen everything, knows different coverages, and this will give Jacob the time to pick that brain a little bit, and actually learn NFL, defensive schemes, why, Phillip went to this audible versus this one. Those types of things that you don't get when you're thrown straight into the league, as another quarterback who we'll be talking about here later. So I think that's going to be really good for Jacob himself and his professional career, as well as the Colts way down the line. I really do think they were thinking with the future, instead of the now with that pick. Another team, Corey, who had a great draft, in my opinion, were my Cleveland Browns. The first pick that we got Jedrick Willis, the offensive tackle out of Alabama, Grant Delpit, the safety out of LSU, Jordan Elliott, defensive tackle, Missouri, and Jacob Phillips, the linebacker at LSU. We got Harrison Bryant, a good tight end out of Florida Atlantic, Nick Harris, a center out of Washington, and then your boy, DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Michigan, man. What are your thoughts here about the Browns draft? What grade? The NFL.com gives them a grade A minus. What is your grade, and what did you think overall of the Browns draft here?
I've told you, I thought it was a great draft for the Browns. I kind of think maybe it's more like a B plus. I guess A minus, B plus, not too far off. I kind of give it a B plus. Obviously, to take Jedrick Wills at 10, he was the best lineman, in my opinion, in the draft. So for him to be there at 10, for you to take him, I think is an absolute win. I think he was, like I said, best lineman in the draft. I think so. That's a win for you, obviously, to protect Baker. Obviously, you've got enough weapons in the offense now that you need to just protect him. Grant Delpit, it seems like Cleveland has a thing for LSU DBs, and so I'm not surprised to see Grant Delpit. I think he's a great player. I think he is he's going to have to develop a little bit more. A lot of Grant Delpit reminds me of Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. Obviously, the Honey Badger is a little bit more explosive, but I think Delpit can, if he can, come into his own, get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and maybe kind of get a little bit faster even. If he can work at it, I think Grant Delpit could become a really good player. After that, obviously rounds 3 through 6, I like the Nick Harris pick in the 5th round. I'm not sure why Harrison Bryant. I feel like that may have been a wasted pick. I think at this point you obviously should load up on offensive line, I think. So I probably wouldn't have maybe taken a tight end. So I'm going to stick with a B+. But again, Donovan Peoples-Jones, we talked about him a lot. He's an explosive young player who has a lot of upside and a lot of talent. He was the number 1 wide receiver coming out of high school to go to Michigan. He's very explosive. I think he has a little issue going across the middle, holding onto the ball when he gets those chances. But I mean, overall, when he gets the ball in his hands, he can take it to the house anytime. So he's one of those guys as well. So I think a great draft. I'm going to give it a B+, but overall a great draft for the Browns.
Yeah, I'm actually very pleased with the Browns draft this year. I was actually thinking to myself here, when was the last time you saw a Browns draft where they did not have a quarterback, where they did not draft a quarterback? It seems every single year, as a Browns fan, we've always drafted a quarterback. It's finally nice to see one where we did not take a real skilled position player, and I'm talking your running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers, a tight end, if you will, a cornerback, those types of players are offensive skill players rather, not team, until the fourth round. We beefed up the line with the best offensive lineman, like you said. I agree with you. And Wills from Alabama. Grant Delpit is, in my opinion, probably the best safety to come into this draft or come out of this draft. And then I do like the next Nick Harris pick, and I definitely agree with you with Donovan Peoples-Jones. As we were talking about earlier, I said he is explosive in the way where if he's one-on-one going straight down the field, you better throw him the ball because he's going to catch it and take it to the house. But as you already stated, Corey, when he goes across the middle, he has hand issues. I don't know if it's, taking so many licks over his college days, playing in the Big Ten, because that's what happens when you go over the middle. Or if it's just he's afraid to take those types of big hits, and he knows if he catches the ball, he's taking it, he's going to take a big hit. Or what's going through his mind is maybe if I don't catch it, they make contact with me anyways, and I get a roughing a personal foul penalty. I don't know. But he does have some issues with his hands, and he needs to fix that, especially if he wants to perform at the next level. However, though, with all that being said, I do think he has the potential to be a great fit with OBJ, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, and Njoku, who we still have on the other side of all them too. So I think he definitely has the right guys to be around to fix that issue and to give him more confidence, going throughout the season, with OBJ and Jarvis being veterans. So, I think that pick has the potential down the road when we look back at it to be like, wow, the Browns got a steal at that pick. But I agree with you with the Harrison Bryant pick. I don't understand the tight end. You have two already who are stellar tight ends. You just signed one to a huge contract. So I'm not sure what you were thinking there. I agree with you, Corey. We should have went offensive lineman at that pick, just to beef up the offensive line and get some depth at the offensive line, because you can never have too much depth on your O-line. Overall, NFL.com says A-. I actually, as a Browns fan, I'm going to sound a little biased, but I'm going to go with a solid A here. I think we had a stellar draft when you look back and you see the pieces we got with the pieces we were missing. Everybody can fill those holes, and everybody's pretty much ready to play day one. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think they all could be day one players, and I think overall you may look back and see that it could be an A. I don't know that it's quite there yet. I think there's some questionable players and choices that they made, but obviously once you get past round 3, everything can be questionable. But I mean, you're right. A lot of those, I mean, Wills, Delpit, and probably Jacob Phillips are probably day one starters. So, 3 of your top 4 picks will probably be starters day one.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And I think that's, one heck of a draft, to get, have 4 picks and 3 of your 4 are first day starters. I don't think a lot of teams have that, or really get that opportunity to draft those types of players for the holes that they need, versus, what they've done in the offseason as well. All right, Cor. Well, let's move on to the hometown Bengals. We all know who the number 1 overall pick was, Joe Burrow. Then they got another weapon in T. Higgins out of Clemson. They picked up Logan Wilson, the linebacker out of Wyoming. Got Akeem Davis Gaither out of the linebacker out of Appalachian State. Khalid Kareem, defensive end, Notre Dame. Hakeem, not going to butcher his last name, the offensive guard out of Kansas. And Marcus Bailey, the linebacker out of Purdue. NFL gives him an A. Corey, as a you know, as since we are the 513 Sports Attack, and they're your hometown Bengals. What did you think about the draft this year for the Bengals?
I agree. I think it's perfect. It's been a long time, I think, since I could finally be really happy with the Bengals draft. Obviously they took Joe Burrow number one. They decided he was their guy, hometown kid. I like it. I like his poise. I like his arm. I think there are some things that he's going to need to work on for sure, but what quarterback doesn't? I think he wants to work. He's already shown and reached out to teammates saying that he wants to get 7-on-7 drills so he can get comfortable. I mean, he's the real deal. So I think him number one overall is no surprise. He's going to be home playing, obviously, with Andy Dalton signing, obviously being cut by the Bengals and signing with the Dallas Cowboys. He is the day one starter. That pick. Go ahead.
No. I just want to talk about Joe Burrow just because he is the number one overall pick. So let's talk a little bit about good old Joe. I love the pick at number one for Joe Burrow. I think he is the best quarterback in this draft. And the kid has made NFL throws, even going back to high school. We didn't get to see a lot of him in college. You only saw 2 seasons, but what you did see was a guy capable of making those NFL throws. Not only that, he showed great ability in his 2 years of starting to read defenses, check out of plays, call the right audible according to what the defense is showing you. And what the coverage is showing you, and he executed 100% of the way. People will say, oh, he came out of nowhere. He had an average 2018 season going 9-3. No, he didn't. He ran into 2018. They lost to Alabama, and didn't they play for the national championship? You know what I'm saying? And then he gets what I saw the best out of him this past season in college, and why I'm so high on him and why I think he really is a day one starter for you guys, Cory, is the old fantasy loving offense that you had in New Orleans. That offensive coordinator who ran that offense was the offensive coordinator at LSU last year. And what did Joe Burrow do? He put up the same kind of numbers that Drew Brees did all those years, and all of the players around him put up the same numbers that all the Saints Alvin Kamara put up from the running position. So right there, that told me he is ready to run a pro offense in the modern day pro offenses. Wouldn't you agree?
I
disagree with that.
No, I do think. I think the thing that really, I always thought Justin Herbert was the best quarterback in this draft. But after watching tape and seeing how they talk about Joe Burrow, the one thing that really stands out about Joe Burrow on tape is when that moment is brightest and you need the big time throw, every single time he hit that big time throw. You did not see him overshoot a guy 2 times in a row. You didn't see that because he made the adjustment. And his leadership is something that the Cincinnati area has not had in a long time. Obviously Andy Dalton was a leader on and off the field. You can say what you want, but there's a difference between just being a leader. Joe Burrow is a competitor. He wants to talk. He wants to get in your face. He wants to be that guy. And he's also the guy who's going to get your team to work their ass off to make sure that they go ahead and continue to do what's supposed to be done so they can achieve what they want to do. And that's something that the Cincinnati area really needs and has yet to have since maybe Carson Palmer days.
And you know what? And speaking about Carson Palmer here, and another quality that Joe Burrow has, as you were saying, was that, and the only word I could think of is the swagger aspect. He walks around, and like you said, he's a competitor. He wants to win. He's not afraid to get in your face, and that's the type of leader that the Bengals need. Being in Southern Ohio, being in the Rust Belt, you have to have some of that attitude to really get, not only the city behind you, as we saw Baker did up in Cleveland, but also the team then gathers around you. Because that's what this area, that's what Northern football and being in this, and just, in the Midwest is all about. It's a grind every day. That's the mentality that we have, and that's what he has. And
Yeah,
Andy Dalton just doesn't have that. He's more of a laid back kind of guy, not going to get in your face type of guy. And to be honest, and that works in some cases with some players. But when you have like the guys around you, like AJ Green, and all those other guys, you gotta, they want to play with that fire because that's what they're used to.
Yeah, and the thing is, we'll talk a little bit later about The Last Dance. There's a couple quotes in The Last Dance that kind of, when the Bulls couldn't beat the Pistons, they tried to, the bad boy Pistons were trying to push them around, right? Trying to push them around. Well, the Steelers and Ravens have been pushing the Bengals around for too long. Joe Burrow is not going to take that. He's not going to let that happen. They're going to push him around. He's going to make sure that they get stronger. They work on it so that when the time comes when the Steelers try to push us around, we will be ready and we will be the ones doing the pushing. And I think the Bengals had a lot of talent last year that was sidelined. Their first-round pick, Jonah Williams, not on the field. He will be on the field this year. It's one of those things where I really think A.J. Green was not on the field last year. He will be. John Ross, injured a lot of the year last year. He's supposed to be fully healthy. Now, obviously, we signed T. Higgins, and I think T. Higgins is a great pick. We talked about that. I think T. Higgins is a phenomenal first-round or second-round pick. I think he was a first-round talent as well.
One of the best wide receivers in this draft. With Higgins.
Yep. And so,
and that's a steal going in the second round, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think, moving on, what you do is you try to provide Joe Burrow with the best offense, but we already have a lot of talent on offense, a lot of young linemen. So then you take T. Higgins, like the pick. Obviously, A.J. Green is not going to last forever. You need someone who can be a guy like that. A.J. Green can take him under his wing. T. Higgins is a great pick. I love it. Round 3. I was not sold on Logan Wilson right off the bat. When I heard about him, I had to do a little bit of research about him. He's a captain. He was a guy who they counted on. He's a fast linebacker. And in this day and age of the NFL, when you have these shifty wide receivers, shifty running backs, you need to have end-to-end speed at the linebacker position. And Logan Wilson does have that. So I think Logan Wilson may be an underrated pick in the third round. I think he might be I think he will actually end up becoming a day one starter for the Bengals for a long time, and I think he will be a starter just because of his speed and athleticism at the linebacker position. Akeem Davis-Gaither is another guy who is he's flat out a good, solid, knock you down linebacker with some speed. So again, they're filling a need. The Bengals defense, linebacker-wise, has been not too great the last couple of seasons. Always been a little bit slow. You have a lot of wide receivers who go across the middle and running backs who go right down the heart of the middle, and no one can tackle them to the outside, anything, so getting faster. Again, down the line, Khalid Kareem, a solid pick. Hakeem Adeniji, I think his name is. I think it's Hakeem Adeniji. I think he can be a develop. He needs to develop, but I think he could end up becoming a player that we could use. Marcus Lee is someone who was injured a lot for Purdue, but overall, I think he could be a solid player as well. So I think overall, A is the perfect grade. Obviously, the A is mainly because of Joe Burrow, and I think Higgins gets included in that as well. But I think Joe Burrow to T. Higgins is something you might see in the league for the next 10 years.
I don't disagree with that statement of Burrows and Higgins. My personal grade though for the Bengals is an A-. I do like the A- is Joe Burrows and T. Higgins, and Logan Wilson, because as you stated, his speed end to end that he will bring to that defense. I really would have liked to see the Bengals get draft a couple offensive linemen maybe, just to give some depth to the offensive line and make sure Joe Burrows is protected, because we all know stepping in your rookie year is never easy in the NFL. Teams are going to be gunning for you. They're going to see how much they can get you rattled, and everything like that. And they're going to, and every defense is going to want to test you being the number one overall pick going out your first year starting. So that, I give them an A- for that reason of not getting enough offensive linemen to protect Joe Burrows. But to be honest, the Bengals had one of the best drafts I've seen them have in a while. And, Corey, NFL.com, said the Baltimore Ravens had the best draft out of all the 32 teams. And when you're looking at the AFC North, I can't see another division in football that probably had a better draft than we did in the AFC North,
Yeah, and I think what's really fun to think about is how young the AFC North really is. You look at the quarterbacks that are in the AFC North, okay? You got Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Ben Roethlisberger.
Baker Mayfield,
excuse me. Young outside of Roethlisberger. So, obviously the Pittsburgh's going to be looking for a young quarterback to replace him in the next couple of years. But I think for the first time, I think in the AFC North, you might see the Bengals and the Browns might be duking it.
Yeah. And like you said, I think it all has to do with both quarterbacks that the Bengals and Browns now have leading them. I'm not a big fan of Baker Mayfield, but what he does is he has that attitude, that killer instinct, like you were saying. Hey, you're not going to come in here and push us around, or we're not going to go to you and get pushed around. We're going to be competitive in this game, and the best team is going to win. And they're going to push their teammates to the brink in those types of games. And, I think outside, and it's hard to count Baltimore out, but I do see the Bengals and Browns battling it for that potential wild card position this year.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. Obviously I hope as a Bengals fan Burrow can do that. I don't expect that necessarily in year one, but I think obviously maybe winning 5-6 games, Joe Burrow's first year, I think is kind of a win for the Bengals.
Well, and let's just be honest. I mean, the Bengals record was 2-14. I mean, last year, but let's just be honest. Andy Dalton to AJ Green, if he's healthy, that adds another probably 4 to 5 wins onto the season. So now you're looking at 6 or 7 wins for the Bengals if AJ Green's healthy. And I think Joe Burrows himself is good enough to win you 5 games in the NFL his rookie year. He's good enough to win you 5 games. And then when you put the talent that you guys have around him with like the likes of Joe Mixon, the likes of John Ross, and T. Higgins on the opposite side of AJ Green. And I always forget the tight end's name in there, Corey. Tyler Eifert. And you have him in there.
No, he's gone. He's in Jacksonville. He's in Jacksonville.
Okay, sorry. So Eifert's no longer there. Sorry, my apologies. But with all the offensive talent that you guys still have, Joe Burrows is good for 4 to 5 wins his rookie year. Let's say 4. I personally think 5, but let's just say 4. So there's 4 wins there. AJ Green's good enough to in 4 other games. A.J. Green, even if Joe Burrows is having a bad game, A.J. Green and Joe Mixon combined for another 5 wins. So now you're looking at 9-7 from 2-14.
Yeah, I think I really just
that's wild card territory.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all going to be about Joe Burrow turning the ball over. If we cannot turn the ball over and stay in games without turning the ball over, that was kind of the issue with Andy Dalton the last couple of seasons. He turned the ball over in the biggest moment. So obviously that's going to be a really big thing to watch. But if he can hold on to the ball and the Bengals, can continue, they definitely have the talent and they definitely have the players to make a run.
Cory, if you're worried about Joe Burrows, I don't think any moment besides probably starting in the Super Bowl as a rookie quarterback would be too big for him. I mean, after the national championship game, he went straight back to the locker room, sparked a cigar, and just sat there with the trophy and smoked it. I mean, that's just the type of guy he is. I just don't think a moment, especially in the regular season, is going to be too big for this guy. Now you're talking playoffs and stuff starting your rookie year. Yeah, maybe the moment might get to him a little bit, but I just don't see it during the regular season out of him. So I personally think, man, you might be selling your Bengals a little short. I do think the Browns and Bengals could be fighting for wild card spots this year, man. Cory, the biggest, personally, the biggest story outside of the Joe Burrows that we've been talking about coming out of the NFL draft was Aaron Rodgers and the Jordan Love saga that pursued after the Packers drafted the Jordan Love out of Utah in the first round. Your thoughts, on the Packers drafting Jordan Love, and then I want to get then let's just talk about here the entire saga. About what pursued afterwards.
So I don't really understand why there's so much of a saga. Obviously I understand that Aaron Rodgers has plans to continue to play for a little bit of time, but I don't think there's anything wrong with drafting a quarterback in the first round who you believe in, who you think can actually become a similar player like Aaron Rodgers. And I think Jordan Love has that ability. And I think Green Bay took an opportunity and a chance, knowing that eventually Aaron Rodgers is not going to be there. Let's not forget, Aaron Rodgers fell in the first round to the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers then drafted him and sat him behind Brett Favre. I don't think there's anything wrong. Right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, obviously, drafting someone in the first round, that does cause some issues for some people. Obviously, some people are going to feel a certain type of way. But I think, obviously, it's all of the media as well. The media is blowing, I think, everything out of proportion. I think Aaron Rodgers is a professional, and I think that he will become, he'll deal with it in the way he deals with it. I think this maybe pushes him out the door in Green Bay maybe a little bit, and that maybe not good for some Green Bay fans to hear, but I think maybe Aaron Rodgers might have one foot out the door thinking that when he has a chance, he'll take his talent somewhere else. But I don't know if that's just because of this one issue. I don't know if it's just because they drafted him. I think there's a lot of factors that will go into it, but I think overall I like the pick. I think it's a good pick.
I agree. I think it's a great pick as well. When Aaron Rodgers decided to break his silence on the matter, he did say, his desire was to start and finish with the same organization, just as, many athletes, have done over the years. And that's probably what their desire is too, not to move around, play for one team, leave it all for that franchise. And he said, that may not be a reality at this point. And he understands the organization's future outlook and wanting to make sure they're thinking about the team now and down the line. And how he respects that. He still believes that he can play into his 40s. He's just not sure if that all works together at this point. My thing is Aaron, how the Packers work. So why are you really surprised about this pick? Number one. Number two, they did the same thing to Brett Favre as they're doing to you now. And how long did you sit under Brett Favre for? 5 years? And the only reason Brett Favre got pushed out of Green Bay by the front office was because he did this whole retire, I'm going to retire. No, I'm coming back thing. And then, oh no, I'm going to retire again. But wait, no, I'm coming back. And the team and the front office said, look, we have our guy already in place. We're moving on from you, Brett. We're going with Aaron Rodgers. You know, that's what happened with the whole Brett Favre thing, I can imagine. Because if I had a player like that, Corey, and if you were running a franchise, if a player's telling you every other year he's retiring, oh no, he's coming back, and he's your quarterback, aren't you just going to get fed up with it and move on?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I don't understand with Aaron Rodgers is thinking about this, because the Packers organization is they're always very loyal to their players and players to bring them Super Bowl. And Aaron Rodgers, you've done that. You've won the MVP. You're a Hall of Famer in my book, and there's no doubt that you're probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer with everything that that he's accomplished in his career. So my thing is hey, if you tell the Packers, hey, I'm going to play into my 40s here, I'm looking at a target of 43, 44 years old where I'm going to retire. I'm sure they could be like, hey, Jordan Love, just wait until Aaron Rodgers leaves, learn under him, and it's yours when he's done. And then look what you get. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have approached it that way, and I'm sure everything would have worked out, and you would retire a Packer. They're not going to force you out unless you play games with them like Brett Favre did. That's my thing. Another point with it, I think the media did blow away out of proportion from the get-go, just as something to talk about without, live sports going on, because there was nothing really else to talk about. So I think they really made a story out of nothing. The media did, and that could have caused a lot of Aaron Rodgers speculation, and leading to the statement that he made, in my opinion.
Yeah. I said it before, and I'll say it again. The media blew it way out of proportion. I think, and that's just kind of natural. That's just what the media does. But I don't think there's a big storyline at all.
I don't either. Now, big news came out like earlier this week. The NCAA is allowing college programs to start resuming summer practice and summer workouts, it looks like. Gene Smith, the athletic director at Ohio State, stated that they're probably going to be looking at anywhere from 20,000 to 50,000 fans in the stands at the Horseshoe. And from what I've seen the past couple of days, I'm sure you've seen it as well, Cor. It looks like a lot of other programs are looking probably to do the same in this case. What are your initial thoughts here? With the NCAA, it looks like college football is going to happen.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm obviously very, very excited that college football is going to happen. Obviously, it's not that college football is back. It's some of the places that are allowing things to reopen those schools will have a chance to kind of have some practice and do what they need to. As for playing in the fall, obviously with fans that's if it's allowed. Obviously, that would be the plan if it is allowed. I really think if I'm the NCAA, however this decision has to be made, it will not be an easy one. Obviously, I would love to be fans there, but I think at a point you have to think of safety. And I think these kids, the only people that should be allowed in the stadium is immediate family. I think that's where it's going to end up going. If anyone is allowed in there, I would allow just immediate family, not maybe 20,000. Obviously, these games, they make money. The university makes money on the ticket sales. Obviously, we know that, and there's going to be a huge, huge problem if there's no ticket sales coming in. However, I think at a point you have to think for safety reasons and take precautions. And I think having football alone is probably risky enough. So I would probably relatively think you would play with no fans and maybe readdress it in 2021 when things maybe go back to normal. That's just my opinion. I do understand that there will be an issue. Regardless, I do like the idea. 20,000 fans. Obviously you're sitting one every five. So you're making sure you still have that distance. But to an extent, then you come into the problem that who gets those tickets? Are they first
Well,
come first serve? You know what I'm saying? You
and
come in with all these other problems, and I think it's very risky because no matter what, some of these stadiums only have one entrance and one exit, or that you're still crammed to get in, you're still crammed to get out. You wait in
right.
line for other things. So I think it's too risky, and I think you should play without. I think college football needs to go on, but I think you play without fans for a year, and it's very unfortunate, but I think you do that. Now, if you
Well,
decide that you want to play with fans rather than playing at home stadiums, I think you play each game at one place. I think you play each, conference game at one place. We've kind of talked about that. I'm not sure that would even work, but I think there's other issues. But I think if you're playing at home stadiums, in their home stadiums, I think there should be no fans.
well, so I do like the fact that the NCAA is allowing them to, start working out and resume summer activities. Um, my thing with this is you're talking about universities that have private facilities directly just for the football team alone. You're talking like Alabama, the Alabamas, the Michigans, your Ohio States, your Notre Dames, your Clemsons, probably now. The big name college football schools that you can think of, USC, Oregon, all of these programs have private facilities just for their football team. So, if you really wanted to, if they really wanted to have, they could have quarantined all the players for 14 days in like a dorm and allowed them to go to and from the facility with minimal, with only necessary staffing there, such as your head coach, your strength coach, your personal trainers, and your medical staff. Should have been the only ones allowed in those facilities during that time. Like your coaches, all the coaches, the strength coach, your personal trainers, and your medical staff, they should have been allowed to be there. And that way, at least you can control, that. And, during this like quarantine, you would have been able to control it. They could have paid, cleaning services to come through and sterilize it, at the nighttime and everything. Now speaking about, so that's my opinion on that. So I think they could have been doing this all along because a lot of they have private facilities, so they could have done this anyways. So I'm not surprised that it's, resuming at this point. Now with the fan aspect, Cory, here's what I really think is going to end up happening with college football with fans in the stands at this point. I think you're going to see only immediate family. Players wise with the coaches, you're not going to see a lot of, people outside of that. You're going to see your season ticket holders there, and you're going to see students, groups that they really can control. And I can also see, programs banning secondhand sales of their season ticket holders for this season. So that way they can contain it more, of who's, entering the stadium and interacting with people. That's my opinion with, I think, where they could, wind up with letting fans in the stadium.
Yeah, again, like I said, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think fans are going to be in the stadium when we decide to play, but it's still a little bit off, so there's still some time and some hope to see what we can make happen.
Definitely. Another big thing happening this weekend here with finally another live sports event. Last weekend we had the TaylorMade four-man skins charity match that TaylorMade sponsored. Golf tournament, golf match where you had Rory and DJ face Ricky Fowler and Wolf in a skins match. All money donated to nurses foundations for COVID-19 relief and such for that. So it was great to see that on Sunday. But this weekend we see Tiger and Peyton Manning versus Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady in another golf charity match that they're going to be playing in. Your thoughts on this, Corey? I think it's actually great what they're doing. With these golf charity matches, at least it's provides entertainment and for good causes as well.
Yeah, I really do I appreciate it a lot. Obviously, not having a lot of live sports recently, so obviously, it's nice to have something to look forward to. Obviously, it's going to be a really good golf match. Obviously, Mickelson and Tiger, that's good enough to watch. But then you've got the trash talk of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady on top of it. I can't wait. It's going to be something to watch. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait.
And you know what I wish they would have done in a way here? I wish the pairings were opposite. I wish it was Tiger and Brady, the GOATs of their sports, versus the guys who challenged them most of their careers. I think that kind of would have been just an interesting storyline, if you will. Tiger and Brady versus Phil and Manning. I think that could have been those two. That could have been an interesting storyline going out throughout that day. The GOATs of their sports versus the guys who challenge them their entire careers. But I think it's just great what they're doing. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be good to see a live sporting event again. And it's going to end. I don't know if you caught it this past weekend, but you got to really see how candid these guys are on the golf course, even probably when they're out there with each other when they're not mic'd up. Because, Rory, DJ, Ricky, and Wolf are all mic'd up, and you got to actually hear, how they talk. They did some live interviews while they were walking to their balls after tee shots or walking up to the green, which, it was just kind of cool to see as a fan of golf and a lot of these guys, just seeing a different side of them than what you see on the weekends, at the Masters, the Open, and everything, where they're really locked in. It's nice to see these guys out actually having fun playing a game they love.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be something to watch. I think it's going to be exciting. I do agree with you. I wish pairings were flipped, but I think maybe Tom Brady might be a little bit better than Peyton Manning at golf. I'm not sure. I don't know, but I do know that it's going to be a great sight to see and a great sight to watch, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Definitely. So the biggest, thing everybody's been talking about it, Core. Is The Last Dance, the documentary about the 98 Bulls, when what led to the breakup of Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen, Kukoc, Rodman, Jordan, the entire gang there. What were your thoughts on, now that all 10 episodes have came out, what are your thoughts on it? We kind of lived that. We were young. So, from what you remember when you were young from that, now look, having this documentary and being able to kind of look at it more in depth from, a more mature eye. What are your thoughts on it?
It was really awesome to watch. If you are a basketball fan, you need to watch it. I mean, yes, it was about the Bulls. And yes, it was mainly about Michael Jordan, but it showed how that team became a team. How it took you back all the way from the beginning to the end. It was very well done. Now, I think some of the things were maybe a little over exaggerated. I feel like some of the things, they made, Scottie Pippen maybe not look, when he left Chicago, they made him kind of maybe look more like a villain than, actually what was happening. But, regardless, I think it proves a lot of things. You see the life that these, we all look now and people want to talk about LeBron might be better than Michael and everything like that. But, I kind of look at that and I can make an argument, for that same thing that Michael is the greatest of all time, but you have to, when push comes to shove and you look at how everything was done, The Last Dance was an unbelievable documentary. I really think I might even have to watch it a second time to really be able to really grasp everything to fully discuss it. But I mean, overall, I think it was a wonderful documentary. I think it proves a lot of things to a lot of people. And, I think it really shows that Michael Jordan was the dude. He was the dude. He was that guy. Everyone counted on him to be that guy, and he still was that guy.
Yeah. Oh, I think that this documentary was very well done. I love how they took you through the beginning of from when Jordan got there to the end. When everything broke up. I loved how they went through the different pieces, perspectives too, and gave you the backstory about Scottie Pippen, the backstory about Dennis Rodman, the backstory into how Phil Jackson became the head coach of the Bulls. And all the working pieces that went into what we saw live, in our lifetime during that time period. So that aspect of it, to see and to be able to fully comprehend how all those pieces came to be, was incredible to watch. I know all over the internet it sparked the Jordan LeBron debate, and more people I've seen who've defended LeBron have actually were like, oh no, Jordan's the GOAT. And it's like, so I think it really opened up a lot of these younger guys who never got to watch Michael Jordan play. I think it gave them a real good insight to actually how good he was in his, in those years when he was winning championships, and even before that, and one thing that really did stand out to me, which I thought was kind of really funny, Core, was when Phil Jackson got hired as the Bulls head coach. He says, Jordan, Michael, you're not going to be, winning scoring. You might not be winning scoring titles every year. And he won 10 of them, and throughout his, 13-year career as a Bull. So that was just kind of funny to me that even in the triangle offense that was meant to be around a team, Jordan still shined the brightest out of anybody else on that court. And you really got to see everything.
Yeah, I really, the thing that really, I think, stuck with me, that obviously when we were young kids, we didn't necessarily see, but that the documentary really hit home was, you can say what you want about who Michael Jordan was, but at the end of the day, he was absolutely right. He never asked anyone to do anything that he wasn't willing to do. Everyone was running sprints. He was running sprints. He was asking everyone to come in and work out. He was the first guy in the gym, the last guy to leave. He was doing everything that he was asking everybody else to do. So obviously, as a kid, we don't see that. We didn't see the hard work that he put in. We only hear about it. So to be able to see that he actually was the one to get this going, that said, you know what, we're going to need to bulk up. We're going to beat the Pistons. This is what we're going to do. We're not going to be afraid of them. and we're not going to take it, and we're going to go in and we're going to beat them. And then, like he said, they were ready. And what happened was we're looking for a reaction. They didn't give them a reaction, and they knew right then that they had them beat.
And and speaking to that point, and a lot of people say this in the LeBron Jordan argument, is Jordan never made his teammates better. And I think this documentary pinpointed how Jordan made his team better. And it wasn't it wasn't him passing the ball, giving them more shots, padding their stats or padding his stats. It was, if I ask you to do something, I'm willing to do it myself, and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to show you I'm going to do it, and you're going to do it as well, like you said. And that, to me, right there is the intangible that Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan have over anybody else who's ever played in the NBA, in my opinion. Because, from what we know about Kobe and watching him and you seeing that, when we weren't 8 years old, but when we were 15, 16 years old, Core, watching that happen, you could see the similarities in their leading style. And that's how you make your teammates better, because now your teammates are ready for those big moments, and they're not counting on you to take them through those big moments. So I agree with you. I think that was the biggest point that they've made throughout that entire documentary, and what really hit home as well. I know you. I think when we were talking earlier, I think you said they're going to be making a similar documentary to Tom Brady. Is that correct? About Tom Brady, is that correct?
Yeah. So ESPN and Tom Brady's company that he is part of is making a 9-series documentary, starting to film Tom Brady. About his Super Bowl experiences and kind of everything like that. It's supposed to be documented this year and coming to ESPN, into a TV near you in 2021 at some point. So I think obviously maybe this is the beginning of something that ESPN is trying to do. Obviously, I'd love to see one. We talked about it earlier about maybe seeing one about Tiger Woods. I think that's maybe something that we could see next as well. But, who knows? I think it'd be really interesting to see and, see the guy behind Tom Brady.
Oh, 100%. I would love to watch that. I would love to watch one on Tiger Woods if they decide to do one on him. I really think if they're doing Tom Brady, they definitely need to do Tiger next. If they do one, another interesting one kind of would be Shaq. I could see them doing a Shaq one. That would just be kind of cool. Or even a Tim Duncan. Just because of what kind of a guy, Tim Duncan is. I think that would be a cool documentary to do as well.
It's crazy to think that, like, while everything was happening in 97, they still had cameras following them around doing everything that they were doing. It's just crazy to think.
Man. Right. Like, isn't that crazy to think about that entire year that they just had these camera crews following them around all the time? Like on their private plane, like when they're supposed to have like downtime. Like it's kind of incredible that they did that. And later, how some odd years down the line here now, 22 years down the line, it's kind of cool to see, what what was going on behind doors that we, never even probably knew that was going on at the time. That probably goes for the world too, I don't remember seeing reporting on film crews following, the Bulls around, during those times. So that's kind of actually really cool to see. They're doing The Shot movie where he does Brian Russell to win the 6th championship in Utah move. They're replaying that game, I think, tonight or something, where they made a little movie out of it. So that'd be kind of interesting to watch too. If you're looking for, any sport related, thing that you could get your hands on. So, anything else here, Core?
No, I think that's, there's going to be a little bit more things coming up. Obviously, if you're in the wrestling, I think AEW has a pay-per-view on Saturday, I believe. So if
Double
you're
or Nothing,
obviously,
they do.
yep, so you can obviously check that out if you're looking for some pay-per-view television. And obviously we're going to try to be a part of your weeks again as soon as possible here. Obviously, we're going to be trying our best to kind of keep up to date with the sports world.
Yeah. So we do appreciate y'all for listening. Listen for all your Ohio State football needs. Listen to the OHIO podcast found on all your podcast needs.
Yeah, and don't forget to check us out on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast needs, we are on there. Also, don't forget to check out our Instagram page and Facebook page at the 513 Sports Attack. And if you have any questions for us or any topics you'd like for us to tackle, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the 513 Sports Attack at gmail.com.
And also, please check out our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button as well. We appreciate y'all for listening. One love.